So good evening everyone and welcome to today's panel discussion on a subject that may seem small in nature. People may find it could be a small in nature to this tiny thing, but it carries a huge impact. So the topic is of the panel discussion, the future of micro interaction, small innovation with big impact. We interact with hundreds of digital elements every day. Maybe tapping on a like button to receiving a subtle notification when we receive an important message. Most of the time, we don't even notice these tiny animations or the visual cues as well. But they carry a huge message or they will guide us, they will give us immediate feedback. So you are here, I want to welcome you again. So we have amazing panelists from different perspectives. You can really put different lenses, right, on the topic micro interactions. So all of you have seen them already. They are given keynote talks beginning from Poorva Lavate Service Design and Thought Host. Poorva brings system thinking mindset to complex customer journeys. I think you have how she has explained service design like the vast topic. I think she should have more time so she can dig deeper into it. Making sure that your micro interactions are aligned across the big picture. Also, we had a good interesting topic from Rajat Agarwal, Associate Director and Practice Head of Experience Design at Poorva. So we will bring insight into the feasibility, impact of micro interaction at scale, since you are working with a big number of team members. And finally, we have Vivek Raju. With the same mantra, right? A narrative consultant at Catharsis. Vivek does storytelling and it's a sharp. Hello? And brings a sharp narrative perspective to how your small interaction can tell a big story, right? Yeah. So let's give them a warm welcome. Before we dive in, let's watch a short video which highlights a few real-world examples of micro interactions in action. So maybe it could be a shared reference to all of you because there are people may not have worked in micro interaction, especially students or the audience from different domains. It could be a short video that can give us a shared reference. Can we have a video play? Can we just have a look at it? Yeah. Thank you. Hope now everyone can relate to what I am talking about micro interactions. Maybe there are few people as a student or who are not actually that worked on micro interactions. So we just saw that even smallest interactions can shape our experiences and make our apps or any digital product feel alive and provide critical guidance. Well, we'll begin with few directed questions. and move into cross-panel discussion. Just to add some, there will be a Q&A session for the audience where people can do your panel discussion, can write down your questions and put your thoughts that can be asked at the end of the session. So there will be a time given to you all. So shall we begin? Yeah, thanks. So this is the mic kept over there. So this is a question. If anyone can answer, it's better everyone can answer this question, right? Why do you think that micro interactions have become such a crucial part of digital product design today? May not be a digital product, maybe you can tell it from a service design or maybe from a storytelling perspective. Yeah, Rajat, you can begin.
So I think that micro interactions they sort of complete the story that we are trying to tell through interfaces, right? And micro interactions are all about the fine detailing, right? And there's also a saying, God is in the details. So micro interactions enable us to complete the whole picture of an interface, and it is these subtle things that adds to the delight and are things that are quite important to create a wholesome experience. This is what I feel about micro interactions.
Okay, thanks. So you want to add on to it?
So the way I see micro interactions is fundamentally nothing but a feedback. And I think feedback from a user experience point of view is extremely important consideration when we are designing experiences. Now the format of this feedback can change if it's a digital micro interactions or a message, but it can be extrapolated as the fundamental need to tell user what the action that he or she is performing is done, not done, why not, and what to do if it is not done properly. So I look at micro interaction as a beautiful and a very interactive way to give that feedback. And also delight, it touches some emotional sense in a human being. We all love that. We cannot become machines like that. So I think that is why it's important in many ways.
So where can I see from your storytelling lens?
Frankly, there isn't a lot more to add to it, but so see that we are using all these social media apps, and there's a lot of content that we're continuously taking, a lot of apps that we're using. Like for example, if you use Poorva, there are so many things on that page, right? There's a lot of clutter, a lot of things happening. So there's a constant complaint that we hear, right? That our attention span is dropping, people are not really able to focus. So in such situations, I think we need some specific actions to grab people's attention. So I think micro interaction has the power to grab attention. Like imagine if you're walking through a path and there is some bush on the side, and as you're walking, you weirdly hear one sound from one bush rustling sound. Suddenly you look there, right? Because there's something happening that your attention goes there. So to me, micro interaction is almost like that. When everything is going on, suddenly something is happening that I want my attention to go there. The movement is able to grab my attention. So at least from my perspective, that I am not a strong UI person, but to me, it is more of in this very very cluttered world, it is a way of grabbing people.
Yeah, that's well said, right? It is the micro interactions that can delight us, or that can give us instant feedback, as Poorva said, and also it grabs the attention, so we can retain the users whenever we create some applications or any products that we build.
Who doesn't like animation, right? It's timeless. Pixar has given us so much. So it's a way to have that delight in a very, very boring, digital only world of ours. So absolutely they are necessary that I share.
I'll add one more point. So, good micro interactions, they're like good Wi-Fi. So if it's really good, you don't even notice it. But once it starts to be, act clunky, you start getting irritated.
Yes.
So that is an important aspect around micro interactions.
Yeah, I think it's not just micro interaction, but it's not considered just animation. It could be just a small dot, a visual cue, it could be a sound, it could be a haptic or vibration.
Absolutely.
All those things could be considered as the micro interaction. Yeah. Like you said, the shaking things and all that. So all are considered as a micro interaction. So to Rajat, right? Do you think that users notice micro interactions since you are building a product for different domains, or just feel their absence when they are not there?
So I think I've already answered that, and I, frankly speaking, there's no user who would be going, "Wow, what a loading spinner," right? So they wouldn't even notice it until the things are really functioning as they are supposed to function.
Okay.
They would start noticing it when what is supposed to function on an interface stops functioning. So when it's taking just too long, then a micro interaction alone wouldn't be able to hold the user's attention or would be able to make it delightful for the user, right? So there's this thing, there's this principle called form follows function. So it has to function, and the micro interaction, even if it's given just a visual cue, or maybe if it's masking something that is going on in the background, as long as it's working fine, it will not be noticed by the users. But if it's not functioning well, it'll be a point of notice.
Yeah, so you have to add or another specific question to your case. So Vivek, so how can micro interactions can contribute to a brand storytelling?
To a brand storytelling. So, okay, I think in my session in the morning,
Yeah.
I had shared this latest update that Apple has released, right? The liquid glass update.
Yeah.
So they have, as a brand, Apple is trying to say something. They are saying that we are moving into a different kind of interaction. We are going to make it a little more realistic. So they have a vision. So whatever interaction that they have right now, what they are calling as liquid glass, is that particular thing is contributing to that story. Like they want to make it realistic. Hence the tiny interactions that are happening. It's when they, so for example, if they are on one button and click on a different button, if you see the whole thing moves like a liquid to the next one. So is it necessary? No, I mean it's not helping anybody. Now it's like water has gone there, it is no better. Nothing like that, but they are trying to set this brand that we want this realistic, very fluid kind of experience, a very seamless, flowing experience is what Apple means to everybody. When they are trying to do that, this tiny liquid movement just adds a small bit of delay to that. So that is, I think that is a great way to just add more and more to the brand. Another example is, I don't know how many of you use Cred app for payments? Yeah? Oh, quite, not a lot. One? That's it? Oh, okay. So, I don't know if you guys know the head of design at Cred. His name is Harish Ramakrishnan, and he's also a great singer. So, he says a lot of very controversial things on LinkedIn. And he takes a stand that beauty and aesthetics is one of the most important things. More than function, it has to always be beautiful. And if you use Cred and if you made a payment with it, you in Google Pay, when you make a payment, the payment happens there, done, over. Like if you saw how that Rose Ka dance happened, some people were like took it and gave it, but some people did full performances, right? Cred has a full-fledged performance. They light comes and rotates and blast and this and for 20 rupees paid to say that. But the reality is there is a sense of delight that comes from it, and the brand Cred is known for that. We are very beautiful. Their usability and all is always saying it's not that great. A lot of people say I'm not going to comment on that. But the beauty of it is something a lot of people enjoy. They say it's a very delightful 20 rupees I paid today. So I think it has a lot of role in contributing to that brand value. Like the two examples, Apple and Cred. So yes, I very strongly believe if done well, micro interactions can truly contribute to the brand narrative.
Yeah, you almost answered one of my other questions, just to jump in there. Like, sometimes you said there could be too many things. Can micro interaction be too much, right? I think you all can answer it.
So I have a take on that. I feel that micro interactions should be done with a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So visual cue, providing visual feedback to an action performed by a user. If micro interactions are being used to aid in that, then they are definitely useful. But if they are being done to just add an element of beauty, then I think we might want to think on how much we want to do that, because with adding beautification elements, there's another aspect to it that comes into picture, and that's accessibility. Right? So if we are adding elements that are just to enhance the look and feel and the appeal of an interface, all these elements they sort of obstruct the functionality for a disabled user. So this is when I think that micro interactions should draw a fine balance between there to be just right and overstep the boundaries.
I've had something to add to your question on what it can do to brands. I think how many of you have used Duolingo? Duolingo, can you identify the brand and the interactions that happen and everything? If you take out the micro interactions from Duolingo, what does that brand stand for? Yeah. So that's a perfect example of all design disciplines coming together and giving us a product that absolutely we get hooked on to for all right reasons. Everything, I can go on and on. When you don't use it, the graphic, the animation, then when you do it successfully, everything. So I feel if done right, you cannot say whether this is adding to a brand or no. It has to be one, like a Duolingo. And also, if done badly, one also has to understand what is this product is for. Sometimes for very serious transaction, maybe banking application, if we start doing song and dance at every call to action for user, people might find it very gimmicky. So that decision is designer's discretion as to what this is for and how much.
Yeah, maybe to the you refer to banking, because it's the same question I want to ask you. Through micro interaction, can reduce friction or anxiety when it comes to service growth, especially banking sector, because those are very serious for me. Can micro interaction help them to reduce that friction or anxiety? I understand it shouldn't be like the way you said, right?
It definitely does, but I think it's again across touch points. If it is used as a feedback mechanism and used right for the platform or the touch point it is. I don't know if you have HDFC app.
Yeah.
The new app, have you installed the new app? Okay, try and then we should talk. But people have different opinions about the mobile app as well as web application of HDFC. They're running it as a beta, they're asking for people feedback. I think the new version is the borderline non-serious. I would be interested to know feedback from users. But at the same time, I think some of the very critical banking transactions having feedback and a slight bit of delight is very useful. It need not be extremely good. But overdoing it will kill it. You will find it frivolous.
So, can conclude that for when we use micro, it should be very well balanced, right? It shouldn't be too much.
Intent is important. Just
it's
because
also
of the sake
possible.
of doing interaction, we should not do it everywhere.
So, Rajat is right? So, as a design leader, like when you work in an organization, how can organizations build a culture where details like micro interactions are valued, not treated as nice to have? Because micro interactions really has a cost behind it and the time behind it, budget behind it. So how do they have a value to micro? How can we build that culture at the organization level?
Absolutely. So, a couple of answers to that. So, to be able to create an awareness of its importance and the return on investment it brings, we have to understand the business that we are trying to build an interface and micro interactions for, right? And like she mentioned, it works really wonders for an app like Duolingo. It practically is a standout element in that app, right? And that has contributed to building a brand story, and it has catered to its success, right? Much more than it would work on a serious fintech application like a banking application or a mutual fund distribution app, right? So we have to understand, and if we as designers feel that yes, micro interactions could make or break an interface pertaining to a particular business, then we have to start speaking the business stakeholders language, which I also mentioned in my session today. We have to make them understand because we are anyways, sort of struggling with making them aware of the importance of UX itself. So making them aware of the importance of micro interaction, it becomes much more challenging, right? But if we start to speak in terms of their language on how, for example, adding a small micro interaction that tells that this product has been added to a cart could actually increase the buyout rate or the purchase rate of the customers in your application, that would probably make the stakeholders and decision makers be more aware of what micro interactions can do. And to this, I would say that to build a culture of this in your team, you have to inculcate a practice of not just designing interactions without any thought behind it, but you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to interact with the client, the stakeholders, understand what are some of the success KPIs that they are looking to cater to. So, for every design project that you get, you have to do an interview with all the key important stakeholders, be it the marketing head or the business head, to understand what is it that they are really looking to get out of this particular revamp or the redesign. So maybe they want to reduce the form abandonment rate. And once we get that picture, then maybe we have a stronger case to build for micro interactions. So this is how we can inculcate a culture of giving micro interactions the due importance in other things.
Yeah. So we can speak more on the ROIs that we get out of this.
Absolutely,
Absolutely. And also the user retention, how it can evaluate that. That's the language we can speak to our stakeholders.
Right. And so for example, let's say if we have a customer who is working on a similar app as Duolingo, right?
Okay.
Or maybe in a remotely similar domain as Duolingo, we can cite its example and have some sort of data behind it to explain it to them that this is what micro interactions can do for your business. And then it becomes easier to buy time, to buy budgets, and to work on the micro interactions.
If you have a question, you already answered. So, maybe if you can elaborate it, especially to Vivek, right? How can teams use narrative thinking? You have already spoken about in your talk to make micro interactions more meaningful and not just decorative. Right? Sometimes we have already spoken about it, but can you put a little more deep thought into it?
Yeah. So I think thanks for bringing up Duolingo because so I am a person who does not follow habits. If I plan it, I'm going to do this daily, I will never do it beyond 3 days. That me, I have been able to complete, continuously do my daily sessions on Duolingo for the last, I think, 170 days. And I've learned some random language, Spanish. I don't know how I want to use it, but it's the 5 minutes I'm just giving it. The reason why I do it is Duolingo app has a, and I'm not even sure if this falls in the micro interaction There are two things. One is there is a widget that keeps changing according to time. Like in the morning, this widget will have a character very happy. Okay, are you ready to do today's lesson? We see will not care. As the day proceeds, with time, I think the interaction is with time. So by evening, this character is crying, it's sweating, and then, well, please pay attention to me, please do the lesson. By night, it's dying, and you have to, you feel bad for it, and you do it. So if I have done once every day, it is to just say that what is Duolingo or Owl? Owl is what it is. So it has somehow worked out for me. Secondly, I think Duolingo, if anybody has used, the app has like 4 or 5 different characters. There's an old lady, there's a young lady, there's a young girl who doesn't like full attitude. Like, I don't care. If you want to do. It's like that. One character will come and will just shoot you off. It's like that. So if you make a mistake, they will, and if you win, they will jumping and celebrating. So I think that is a really, it almost feels like these characters are in that learning journey with me. So for me, that is a narrative that, okay, I am in the process of learning Spanish. There are these 5 random people who are coming together to teach me. And if I make a mistake, they will be sad. If I get it right, continuous 5 times if I get it right, they will come, jump, enjoy. And these are the things that really, form that narrative. The narrative is, languages are not really easy to learn. You need a lot of motivation. Maybe it is easier if you are learning it as a group in a class. It will be maybe easier. Alone it's so tough. So our app will provide you the moral support through these weird characters who learn with you, who teach you all of it. So for me, that narrative thing works very well. So Duolingo, I think Duolingo as a brand has put in a lot of effort to figure this out, and that is why I think that really makes sense. Then I don't know if it is narrative level. One interaction that I really enjoy is if you have an iPhone and if you try to move apps from one screen to another. When you hold on to the particular icon, suddenly all the icons starts. It's called jiggle effect. It starts wobbling. To me, it's like suddenly there is some realism to it. Like everything is now detached and loose. Now it's not moving. Now you have to decide and fix it back. Otherwise, it will always keep shaking till you fix it. So there is some closeness to reality that this jiggle is in. And till this thing is happening like that, I'm gonna feel like I have to fix it. And recently I faced that with Instagram. Instagram, if you are trying to put a story, and I do not put stories at all. So for a friend who was starting a company, I wanted to, in support, put a story. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So when it gets locked, suddenly whatever will get selected, start to shaking. So, and that is when I realized, oh, I'm doing something wrong, which is why it's doing this weird shake. So I realized, oh, it is only because the shaking was happening, I realized something was not working. So in our process, so every task that you want to complete, if I want to post a story, that is a task. That is the narrative example. I want to post a story so that I can support my friend. In that journey, that particular micro-interaction will be supported. So I think if planned well, it can nicely fit into narrative is what I think, and it can add on to the narrative. I know it's a repetition of my previous answer, but I hope it emphasizes on.
I feel like because you examples you gave, like the micro-interaction sometimes should really prevent the errors, and also it should connect with the emotions, like the characters we spoke about the app, like, that should connect with the person. Or if there is a lot of thought behind it, then just be a decorative icon.
And maybe this is not apt for this, but I don't even remember what that principle was. There is this principle of at every point a user should be aware of the current status. I don't know what it's called. Other than that,
yeah, you take evaluation.
So it's like there are these times where we have gone to something so we are waiting, we don't know if somebody is
Yeah.
inside. But if you are hearing some noise inside, then they are getting on now, right? So for me, micro interactions are like that. We are waiting for something to load. We don't know if it's stuck. We don't know if it's I have a reload now. But this tiny moving thing or this tiny progress bar gives me that story that your process is happening. Please be patient. We finish it and we come back. So that always give feedback. Feedback of what's happening right now. And I can answer to the question that you asked about whether it relieves anxiety.
Yeah.
So when you don't know what's happening, it's not that anxiety. So I think again that also contributes to the narrative. For somebody to finish a particular task, it needs to be seamless. It needs to be constantly giving you that we are still in the journey. We are not stopped. We are still going on. Don't worry. Just hold on. Sorry for the one.
Well said. So going to Poorva, into your bigger picture, right, of service design. How will micro interaction extend into real world service experience of smart environments, biometrics, or connected devices? In the micro interactions contribution.
I'll answer that, but something came to my mind when he was talking. If you remember, Google did this beautifully. If there is no internet, it allowed user to play a game. Yeah? So it's also something for empty states one can do really well. If you know, so that it can be used as an opportunity rather than something.
There is an app that has got a brand logo. When it's really loaded, it makes users to play around with it. Just makes them realize, even though there is no value added to it, but user wants to come back and it's a stress relief. Yeah. Especially you spoke about the game, right? When internet is being lost.
On the connected devices, and I think we see the word conversion day in and day out. And I give this example. If you look at autonomous cars, can you tell me if it's a software, it's a product? Is it a car like a product or a software? Or what? Is it a product or a service? So everything is kind of coming together. In this scenario, when our devices talk to our phones talk to people, so on and so forth, these feedbacks will be very valuable. And for Alexa users, when your password is delivered, you see a ring and it tells you that you know what is the notification all about. So that is a beautiful example of operations connecting to a device, telling the user that something has been finished, some task. So like that, I think we also need to start thinking cross touch points when we think about these micro interactions or feedbacks. I think more and more we use these connected things, it will become important because as a user you would want to know, right, that hey, I am in my room working and Alexa shows me a ring, I know okay that person was delivered if I'm at an office or if I'm at another room. So a lot of these opportunities exist. I think anyone working in architecture, interior, who have worked with these automated devices like your blinders going down, lights coming on, off, are doing it really well. Smart devices, smart homes, they are all pretty well connected with a lot of feedbacks going across touch points.
New features and all.
You can do your own lighting and decide the light, and Philips did that, a lot of people design.
Micro interaction play is largest.
Its form will change, but the fundamental idea of telling user how this is done, not done, and what should I do.
So today Rajat, I have two students and these are the different areas of UI that a person who can concentrate on my interactions. How should teams start preparing for the next generation of micro interactions? Any skills or tools that we can suggest we have to?
Sure. So there are definitely a couple of tools. I think Figma has a lot of plugins for micro interactions. There is local files that is widely used, right? So that could be mastered. And if there is a product, they're working in product organizations and maybe they could have a library of micro interactions for catering to similar visual cues and feedback, right? So they do go on to reinventing every time a micro interaction has to be used. Apart from that, there is also Poorva, which is quite good at creating micro interactions. So this is another tool that we could look into. I forget the name of the tool, but there is also an AI tool which also sort of creates these little micro interactions in the form of GIF images which can be downloaded, and they can also be embedded into Figma, right? And there are lots of similar tools that are popping up every day. But beyond that, I feel that teams should also learn more about behavioral design. They should understand what the users expect and what is it that a micro interaction is trying to tell the user at a particular point in time, right? So for example, and we should try to match it with the real world. So let's say if I'm waiting in a queue in a physical world, right? And if an attendant just tells me, alright, this is the current number at the doctor's, let's say I'm waiting for my appointment with the doctor, right? And your turn will be after 2 more issues. So that gives me an indication. Now, if you match this real world interaction and you try to sort of replicate it on a digital interface, then that will be able to serve the purpose much better than any sort of assumption would take. So behavioral design, understanding what a user would want at this point and what information they could make use of while things are being performed in the background is, I think, very important to understand. So it goes, again, my whole emphasis is on that micro interactions, they shouldn't be looked at only things that add to the visual appeal, but micro interactions have the power to go much beyond that, right? And they have the power to totally turn about an interface. So they should be aware of that as designers, and these are the broad things that they should be, they have to look at the bigger picture, is what I'm trying to say. Because what I've seen from my team at Interview, there are people who are like expert in crafting visual designs, visual skills, and they are like masters of using modifiers. But they don't really ask the questions that should be asked. And once they present their designs, it is sometimes the stakeholders that end up asking some questions that should be asked by the team in the first place, right? So that is something that I believe in and I'm hinting at, that look at the bigger picture, understand the human needs, the behavioral patterns, requirements, and then you could master tools like Protopie and Modify and other things like that.
Of course, skills and tools which are approach which you can integrate when they want to get going with the micro interactions and interaction design. Thanks. So we have 2 more minutes left. Yeah. So before we go back to the audience, I have a final question. So you have this is a area we can answer for the board. Do you see micro interaction becoming more autonomous? I think earlier there is a definition of micro interaction is just between human and system. When human interaction with system with the feedback or system generated feedback. I think things are getting little wider area. Things are becoming more autonomous. So can they respond to context, emotions or real-time data? Will there be some risks and benefits?
You're asking whether it's going to be lot of these micro interactions are going to be between man and machine.
Yeah. Now it could change it autonomously, like without the man and machine. Maybe just because of the mood or the lighting.
So just when you mentioned that question, the thing that came to my mind was more than this becoming completely autonomous. I think now micro interactions are so we think of micro interaction as things that we do when I am using my phone. It is something personal I am experiencing. But if you have experienced the contact share in an iPhone, when you touch both the heads together, you will see that that movement from your leg from both the leg. So this, if you think of it from far away in aircraft, they can do it. They could have done it. And that's so. Imagine Apple taking a decision. Apple, so both of us have to share our contacts with each other. It is Agarwal. Agarwal has a certain range. He can hold his phone there, I can hold my phone here, and we can do something, and the things can automatically get transferred. But Apple added this interaction that if you touch the head of both of the phones together, this thing happens. So to me, that is and it does nothing extra. It's just contact goes from here to here. That's it. But because it happens because of that touch, now it's almost like there is a human interaction that is coming. So I think as designers we have the power to not just make it very machine, but we have the power to use micro interactions to make these human interactions also stronger. Social interactions, there are like Pokemon Go. I don't think that's a micro interaction, but a product made people move around, right? So I think micro interaction has the power to make people find a little joy in it.
So I have one point to add to it, rather the question to you. So when you talk about these delight factors, right, and they are very well received by the users, how do we ensure that all these factors are also accessible? So for example, the interaction that we just described for file sharing or contact sharing, how can we ensure that a visually disabled person or somebody who's hard of seeing is also able to make use of that light, is able to be involved in whatever it is that you're trying to create?
A very noble thought, and my simple answer is I don't know. But I'm glad that you're thinking about it, and it needs to be thought about. I think it needs to be because this experience that I just talked about is only enjoyable to people without any visual disability. So with the fully functional pair of eyes, you can enjoy that. But if it was somebody visually impaired, there's no experience there. Compared to, I don't know if it makes, again, I'm really not sure what falls into my profession, what doesn't. Like, there is this new movie of Brad Pitt coming out called F1. I don't know if people are. And they have recently released a trailer of the movie in the Apple TV application. So if you watch it in your phone, and it is free for everybody to watch, they have released a haptic trailer. So the whole feeling of racing car was given through vibrations on the phone. So to me, those are the experiences I think slowly can add the delight factor for people with disabilities. So I know that there are options out there, but I think it takes people like you to think, question, and when something randomly related or something recommend, there is always happening. I think somebody has to question it. This is not enjoyable for somebody like this. I think the questioning is an important thing, and like I said, I do not have the answer. I think we have to work on it.
Just one more point I'll add to it. So that good that honestly you said we don't really have an answer for that. But what we can instead ensure is that if micro interactions are being used for anything that is absolutely essential as a visual cue for the users, then there should be some other way for disabled users to also access that information. So if let's say if we are adding a product into our car and there is a slight micro interaction that happens. There should be other ways of telling to blind users as well that their item has also been added to the cart, right? So we should be mindful of that so that we create a truly inclusive experience and not let one subset of the users be devoid of the joy of your trying to create.
Like already I mentioned, other than just the visual cue, right, there are other forms too, like haptics you spoke about, or the sound is part of micro interactions, right? When you speak to Siri, how it responds, so there are other ways that we can think of, people can still further discuss about.
I can add one more thing. If you make a payment to Paytm and it is a device that shouts how much money you have paid, it's nothing but it's a non-visual micro interaction. So I think voice space in interaction design itself is really, really promising, and I have seen so many people talking about voice design, conversational design. So it is beginning because we are also getting used to these devices and how we interact with them, they with us. So I'm sure there is a lot that can come. I think a couple of other examples again, something go back to Apple, is when you put your phone on silent, it vibrates. A lot of other, all brands done that. But also if you wear your AirPods and different modes, it gives you different feedback. There is haptic feedback, visual feedback combination. So this needs to be extended towards making it inclusive for people. I also think the definition of accessibility when it comes to such feedbacks of voice and haptic also needs to be redefined with a lot of things coming in. So yeah, lot of opportunities.
So I think we have to give more time for the audience. So thank you for your insights from different angles. I think most of the audience were able to relate how interactions are handled. So now is the time for you all audience. If you have any questions, raise your hand, volunteers will get with your mic. And that is specific to the topic what we are talking about. So anyone has any questions can raise your hand. Over there.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Thanks, sir. So, I'm not trained in UI UX, so with all respect, I understand micro interaction as a single purpose event to make a person happy, like models. Now, I heard about dual window and an owl which is almost dying. And I repeat the school every day, I will die. What is the difference between gamification and micro interaction? Is dual window now a gamification or is it a micro interaction?
I'll go first on that. So, I would say that micro interaction is a subset of gamification. So while gamification is designed in a way that leads the user to the next step, and it also aids in a user forming a habit of using an interface, a micro interaction is very specific in nature. So a micro interaction would be for a particular task that a user completes or an action that a user takes. While gamification is a bigger picture wherein there are marks or there is an achievement level that needs to be unlocked by a user by taking multiple actions or multiple activities need to be performed. And gamification by design are also habit formed. So that is why gamification are is an important concept because it lets the user form a habit of using an interface or an application. So while micro interaction could be used to enhance the overall gamification aspect of an application, a micro interaction is very minute in comparison. It's very specific to a particular action taken by a user on an app.
So, for me, the major difference when we talk about gamification is the usage of incentives. So, I'm thinking of a metaphor like this. Imagine like a game where it's a running race, right? Gamification is the fact that somebody is running that race to get the trophy at the end. So that is gamification. If you do this, you will get the trophy. That incentive is the reason why you are doing it, and hence you keep progressing. So the trophy, keeping the trophy at that other end for pushing this person to run is gamification. If you have your friends standing on the sideline and cheering you as you run, that would be for me micro interaction. Like small, big, slowly pushing. I'm not running because of that. My true motivation would be to reach that trophy. But from the sideline, those tiny motivation also is pushing me forward. So that is micro interaction. That is gamification. I hope that.
Does anyone have any other questions to ask the panelists? Please raise your hand so that Mike can ask you. Okay. Okay. So Vivek was does anyone has ever worked on micro interactions can raise their hands? Okay.
So would you mind telling what that was? Like for what purpose? How did you work on it? I'm sorry, is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so there is this again. It's not for client base, it's for my personal use. For my personal portfolio. So I also work with the client base project. I added this small micro animations. Okay, I added some. You can create in lot of files, right? You create your own animations in lot of files, you can add it to your own scene. Okay. So I created one, and the client was like, there is no need of micro animations, micro interactions exactly. Just these designs and just submit it. So,
I'm telling you that is the Cassandra's curse.
yeah. This is one conclusion for me. Some clients do not want micro interactions exactly. They like do some simple screens and just give it to us. So this is one question from my end also. So what is your thought on this?
This is that's the question. Shouldn't have done this. Better about getting well.
XYZ, right? So we have to sort of spoon feed them on the importance of micro interaction, and we also have to try to understand what is it that the person is seeking. So you mentioned that sometimes the clients say do something creative. So by creative, do they mean do something creative visually, like just add illustrations and not do something that animates or micro interacts, right? And to do that, to understand what it is that they're really seeking, you could ask to give them some references. Maybe they've seen some things that they want to sort of replicate or get inspired by in their application, but they want to convey it to us. So what I do in my team is to always ask for inspiration or competitors. So once they name a couple of applications out there in the market, that gives us a fair idea on what they are looking to invent in their own app and what is their definition of making it creative or pop out.
Thank you. So with one final question can be asked from the audience right before we wind up?
Hi everyone, my name is Steven and I come from the engineering background, so I'm an engineering manager that manages teams across all functions. I've also had the privilege of managing a few UX designers as well in my journey. I myself am an app developer, mobile app developer, and I'm speaking from the developer's perspective, right? Micro interactions are our biggest nightmares and we hate micro interactions because what you guys as designers think, it's very hard for us to translate into the end product. So my question is, how would you as designers make this collaborative process much easier, and what can be some of the steps that cross-functional team can take to kind of, give the designers the privilege to explore their creative thinking, add micro interactions. At the same time, allow the developers of the team to say, yeah, we can do that, or somewhere meet in the middle maybe. So that's kind of the question.
We can try and buy you some time from the stakeholders if that helps.
I mean, I don't know how many developers are there, but then it's going to be a challenge that every designer has to solve at some point in their career. Speaking of experience, I've seen a lot of battles between the teams. So it would definitely help every designer in this forum to know how to navigate that situation, at least because you will face it definitely in your career for sure.
I'm so thankful that you are talking, because all this time my head was remembering a scenario where I know the challenges with micro interaction. It cannot be so easily built because of the loading time, the memory it takes, the engineering aspect of it. And thank you for bringing this up. But I kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to put a spin to the discussion. But if this has to really come to life, it's an extremely important question that we should answer as a product team. Forget design, forget engineering, because if it is important, then how do we solve it? And I think there are few things that are there that we followers we've done where we've enabled these things. How do we ensure that if the loading time reduces, the quality increases, and so on and so forth. But for designers, it's important to sit with engineers, because non-negotiable. Understand how they code things, understand how APIs work. It's a simple inspect, you can see what happens, right, when you make an action. Understand what exactly happens. Again, in my mind, it's a backstage, front stage problem which we don't address no matter what. What happens? How is it built? What makes it difficult? What makes it easy? So please sit with the engineers. They are the people, like Vivek said. You have to build it. Don't just remain in the ideate stage and forget about it. And this is a question to you also when the client said, no, what was the problem? Was the timeline a problem? The idea was bad. So it's hard to even tell you what you could have done without understanding these things. You can slice and say that, okay, let's work with the basic, and then in the next deployment, we work on the micro interaction. You don't have to have everything in the first go, because whether we like it or not, they are good to have. They are not must-haves, right? And that's why sometimes people tend to go, okay, efforts are less, money is less, will be done fast, let's go with the simpler solution. I mean, multiple reasons, but designers need to sit with engineers and other way around also, because I have found in my team engineers have excellent ideas because they have solved the same problem multiple times. Designer must be, faced with that challenge once because that type of client, that type of application, but developers would have solved it many times. They have really good solutions for things that designers cannot understand or figure out. So that is what I would say. I mean, at least we have a very strong collaboration. Tech, business, and design is, we call it three on the goals. They sit together and follow individually.
I think you answered it right. The three on the workshop, and in general, having a cross-functional discussion more often is very important. Team dynamics and stuff like that. Also, I think Lottie has been a good savior. People are struggling with a lot of animations and with this.
Have you tried
Yes, but I would say from an optimized approach perspective, Lottie makes the thing. It's very refined and.
From the designer's perspective, apparently now Rive is making the entire animation making process much more easier. So unless they figure something out, again it's not be a little friction.
Yeah, but so far in the community, developer community, Lottie takes the thing. Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone for thoughtful questions asked by the audience and thoughtful answers that you given. It was very helpful. Thank you all for joining for this insightful conversation on micro interactions. Big thanks to our panelists, Vivek, Rajat, and Poorva, for sharing such a unique and forward-looking perspectives. Your inputs truly expanded how we view the impact of micro interactions. To everyone here, keep designing with intentions, even the tiniest of details. This concludes our session. Thank you and see you soon.